Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on another fine firearm from B&T. This is the new on the market SPC PDW. So this is the shortened version or the K version of the SPC, and you might not be familiar with this particular gun as I said, it just hit the market. I think B&T is marketing this as a mix between an AR-15, an MP5, and the APC. I gotta tell you, it is really interesting, and I'm so glad that I'm able to get my hands on one to try out here for the channel. And like always, I want to thank the person that made that possible, and that is D. You know who you are. He only wants me to use his first initial, so thank you, D, for lending another awesome B&T to the channel for me to review. And as always, I want to thank my Patreons. I do appreciate their monthly support. It means a lot to me to help keep the channel going and keep the lights on around here. As you guys know, YouTube is constantly demonetizing us firearms channels. And then of course my primary sponsor for all of these range reports who helps provide the ammunition, and that is Brownworks. You guys have heard me talk about Brownworks in all of my range reports the past few months. Brownworks is a company that makes fine and custom wood grips for a wide variety of firearms. Mark, who owns it, is a huge supporter here at the channel. As I said, he provides all of the ammunition, and I love to support him because he supports me. I want you to go over and check out his website and see all that he has to offer. I promise you, you will be very impressed if you haven't done so already. If you're a big fan here at the Texas Gun Vault, watch my videos, I'm sure you've already gone over there and see all that he has to offer. But I can tell you, if you have a 1911, a Beretta 92, CZs, even the Armscore 2011 type of 1911s, he makes grips for all of those. He can finish them in a wide variety of ways, use exotic woods, and even put on custom logos. But I know if you're watching this video, you might not have a gun like that, but you prefer tactical firearms. Well, he has something for you too, and he now laser engraves PMags. So if you have particular designs or logos that you would like to see on your modern sporting rifle magazines, give him a call. See what he can do for you. He offers so many services. And if there's something on his website that you don't see, email him, and I guarantee you he'll hook you right up. And as always, tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you, and you can use the discount code that I put in the description and pinned as a comment. So please go over there, check out Brownworks, and thank him for supporting the Texas Gun Vault by providing all of the ammunition for these range reports so I can bring you all of this content. And once again, please tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so what is the SPC PDW? Let me give you some close-ups first of this firearm. Now, it should be noted that D, the owner of this gun, has upgraded it a couple of different ways. We see we have some different iron sights here. We got an optic. It's an Aimpoint Micro T2. He's changed out the trigger. But for the most part, there's a lot of factory parts on this. Now, this is a really interesting looking firearm. Now, if you guys have been following B&T for a while, this is going to be another gun that's chambered in 9mm. Probably they're going to come out with one probably in 45 as well. But it kind of competes with guns that they already make, such as the APC, the GHM, and the KH9. So I'm not really sure when it comes to the marketability of this gun, are they really starting to compete with themselves? But there's one thing I know for certain is that this is going to be another awesome and fine shooter. I can tell you that every product that I have ever reviewed from B&T has just been absolutely fascinating. And I'm going to tell you that when you hold a B&T gun, it is machined completely different than any other gun that I own. These guns are just finished so well. It's just that Swiss craftsmanship. They make fine watches and they make fine firearms, and always have. They just take a lot of pride in everything that they build. So that's what the SPC is, and it's my understanding that this was part of a contract, a German police contract, where they wanted something that had AR-15 style controls and feel, but was a submachine gun, but not an AR-9. So B&T created this particular gun. And I have to tell you, they've reworked a couple of things and definitely took a look at their APC and GHM firearms and said, well, what do people think that we can upgrade and improve? And that's the philosophy that I think they took into building this particular gun, and I think they did a great job. So how does this gun compare to the other firearms in their lineup? Well, I have an APC 9K here on the table. This is also another gun that I'm reviewing, which Dee lent to the channel, and I even love the fact it's in flat dark earth. Well, I've always looked at the APC line, or the Advanced Police Carbine, as kind of their top tier, and I think from a price standpoint, it still is. Plus, I like the way that it looks, and this gun still has a few advantages, I think, over any other gun that they make. But this gun is at a very similar price point. But I'm not really sure if this is going to be necessarily a better gun, because the APC already is so good. So when they were addressing the issues that people probably complained about with their other guns, we're always going to have some type of trade-off. So obviously, as I said, they wanted AR-15 style control. So one of the things that they added was a charging handle here in the back, just like an AR-15. They still provide a side charging handle up here on the front as well, if you like to charge it like an MP5. So the downside here is you're going to have a little bit of extra weight, and the receiver is going to be a little bit taller to accommodate that charging handle. Is that really a trade-off? I don't know. Neither of them are reciprocating, so you don't have to worry about anything coming back and hitting your hand or hitting your face or any of that. But they just added this particular feature because that's what people wanted. The other thing the charging handle does is add a little bit of complexity to the disassembly. There's just an extra step, and I'm probably going to do a field strip video with this particular firearm as well. Another trade-off that they did was lighten up the bolt. All of the B&T firearms use direct blowback. Now, they try to dampen the recoil using a buffer system, but they redid the buffer system on this particular gun. As you can see here on the PDW version, we have this little tube that sticks out the back of the receiver, and this is where the buffer assembly is. The bolt itself is actually a lot lighter and a lot smaller than all of the other guns that I own from B&T, and I think they did that because they want to dampen the recoil a little bit more. I've heard a lot of people say that this recoils even better than the APC. Now, I gotta be honest with you, I love B&T. Nothing beats the recoil of an MP5 though. There is just something about the roller locking system that is just fantastic. And the APC comes pretty close when it comes to their buffer system. It definitely is a little bit heavier and you feel it in your shoulder, but I'm really excited to see how this thing is going to shoot. So that's kind of the trade-offs. You get this extra part here in the back so you can't fold the stock or the brace and collapse it as much as you can, the APC, because of this, but you do get a lighter bolt and supposedly a better recoil impulse. Before we get into the things I like and don't like about this particular firearm, I just want to make you aware of something in case some of you astute viewers will notice, and that is this barrel is recessed here into the handguard just a little bit. Supposedly, Dee told me this is one of the early imports of the SPC. It does have a 3-lug system, but it is recessed under the handguard, so you have to use special suppressors or ones that are very narrow. The new ones that are on the market today, the barrel does stick out a little bit further, and you can attach any suppressor that uses the 3-lug system. All right, so let's talk about the things I like. First and foremost, I've already hinted at it, and that is the B&T quality. Looking at this thing, you don't see any machine marks whatsoever. It is finished perfectly. The difference between the polymer lower and the aluminum upper, you can't even tell a texture difference. It is amazing the quality of this build. It feels solid and it looks extremely attractive. There's another close-up look at this particular gun. Isn't that just a very sexy looking gun? Now, something else that seems to be common among all the guns from B&T that are their sub guns, and that is the lowers are completely interchangeable. I know that on some of these APCs, they're actually marked as APC, but I believe all of these are interchangeable between the GHM, the APC, and I guess the SPC as well. And you can, I'm going to assume, buy Glock lowers for this as well. I know you can on the APC and the GHM series, so I'm going to assume that's also going to be possible here on the SPC. In fact, I think when I was looking at the price list, I did see the ones for the Glock lower. So for all of you people that always ask, does it take Glock mags? Well, the the answer is yes. But us cool people, we're gonna go with the real B&T magazines. Now, some people say these magazines aren't that good because they're all polymer. Well, do you have any problems with PMags from Magpul? No, you don't. I have never seen one of these fail or break. Now, does that mean they never have? Oh, of course not. But the ones that I've shot have worked fantastic, and I prefer the capacity and the reliability of these over those Glock mags, and I've done videos and talked about that in the past. Another huge selling point for this is the controls. All of the controls of this firearm are ambidextrous. So you have a magazine release on both sides and a bolt catch on both sides. But one of the things about the controls I'm going to have to say I don't like, or I guess say it's not my preference, is the bolt release on this here on the side is a lever that you push down instead of in. On AR-15s, I'm really used to pushing the button in. It's just kind of the muscle memory that I have developed. So when it comes to quick magazine changes or dropping the bolt, it's not as natural. It's something that I would have to train with or be conscious about because I'm just used to pushing that button. They really want to have AR-15 style controls, but they didn't design the lower with that in mind. I know that the APC Generation 1 series had that push button, and I kind of prefer that just a little bit more. But all of the other controls, easily accessible and are ambidextrous. I also like the fact you can charge it, as I mentioned in the past, from the back or the front. I just wish that the charging handle in the front was ambi as well, but probably you can buy one of those in aftermarket, or maybe B&T even sells one of those. So that's the things that I really like about this. Now let's talk about the things I don't like. Well, I've already kind of told you the things that maybe aren't my favorite, and that has to do with the longer buffer tube and maybe the charging handle, but that's it. I really have nothing negative to say about the gun from just handling it here on the table. So far, it just seems to be another spectacular offering from B&T. So any other criticisms I have so far are just going to be really small and minute, and I think I could overcome and aren't really that big of a deal. So, with all of that said, let's get this thing to the range. Let's put the first magazine through it. I'm really excited to see if this gun recoils like they claim and how accurate it is. They say it's supposed to feel a little bit more on your shoulder like an AR-9 or an AR-15 chambered in 9mm, but with a lot lighter recoil than the APC, something getting close to an MP5. So I'm gonna set the target out at 10 yards, load the magazine up. I know it's kind of a close distance. I just wanna check it for function, see how it feels, and see what I think. So let's get this thing to the range. All right, so I know that was only at 10 yards, but wow, is this thing super accurate. And I have to say the recoil is lighter than any other B&T product that I own. It might not be as nice as an MP5, but it is darn close. Now, there is one thing I did notice from just shooting it, and that is your cheek well. When it comes to this buffer extension right here, I don't know if it lines up with my cheek just perfect. And I think if I had the longer telescoping stock that you get on the SBR, I think it'd be a little bit better. So if you want to use this as a cheek well, you might not like it. It's not uncomfortable or anything, but depending on your face structure, it might get in the way or it might not be a bother at all. As I said, it's not really that big of a deal and I didn't notice it too much. It was just something that when it was up against my face, I kind of felt a little bit, but maybe with a little bit of adjustment and training with this, I could overcome that, but it's not a big deal whatsoever at all. All right, so let's do what I always call is the accuracy portion of the range report. And essentially, I'm gonna put the target out at 25 yards. I just want to see if shooting this thing offhand as a casual gun owner, can I still shoot this thing accurately and how big does the group open up? So I'm going to use that same target. I'm going to shoot for the head and see what happens. All right, so all I can say is, wow. But honestly, I expect that for my B&Ts. The grouping was exactly the same size. And something I didn't mention before I showed you that footage is that magazine was a mix between 115 grain and 124 grain. So the weight of the bullet and the speed of the bullet really didn't seem to offset the zero at all. So I'm really, really impressed with this thing so far. Just simply, wow, it's accurate, it's fun to shoot, and it's really light recoiling. It's very natural in my hands being an AR-15 shooter. But speaking of shooting AR-15, my wife loves to shoot them, so I'm curious to see what she's gonna think. So I'm gonna load up another magazine and see what she thinks about the SPC. And she had the exact same experience that I did. The gun shoots very accurate, very low recoil, and she loves it. The only thing that she had an issue with was she wasn't really sure where to hold it. Now, this is legally a pistol here in the United States. Now, you can file an ATF Form 1 and put on a proper stock, which will also allow you to add a vertical foregrip. Now, when it comes to these guns, these little sub guns, I love vertical foregrips, but you can't do that on these because that would make it into any other weapon. Yeah, our gun laws here in the United States are really stupid. So you have a couple options here. You can hold it from the handguard, or usually on these pistols, I like to do a magwell hold as well, since I can't have a vertical foregrip on it. So she wasn't really sure where to hold it, and neither was comfortable for her. And I explained to her, well, if I owned one of these, I would definitely own the SBR version and have that vertical foregrip. But if you're going to own this as a pistol, I still feel this is a little bit awkward, but it is a better option and solution to hold it from the handguard on this than the other K guns from B&T. So for example, I have the APC 9K here. Even if I SBR this, there's not enough room for a vertical foregrip, and they have a little handguard here, so pretty much you're doing the magwell hold the whole time, or you kind of have an angle between the lower and the upper, and I find neither is very comfortable. But that's just a personal preference, and I know some people, like my friend Andrew from Australia, is going to say that that vertical foregrip is girly. I understand, but I just like them. Not only because how they feel, but because it makes anti-gunners here in the United States go crazy. For some reason, they think the addition of that little vertical foregrip makes it an evil assault weapon. And of course, if it makes them mad, well, I definitely want one. So the next thing I'm going to do is to see if this thing runs hollow points. Now, when I bought my GHM9, which I guess now is a Generation 1, I discovered really fast it doesn't run hollow points. And the excuse that I got was, well, it's a civilian gun, and in many countries around the world, they're not allowed to shoot hollow points. So they're always running ball ammunition. And it runs ball ammunition fantastic. Now, in the Generation 2, they did fix that, and if you own a Generation 1 GHM, you can send it back to B&T, and they will adjust the feed ramps for it, so it will run hollow points. I have just never done that because I always run ball ammunition through it. But for me, that would be a concern, because this is a gun that maybe here in the US, you're going to want to run hollow points. Now, I'm going to assume it does, because it's designed for the German police force or the military, and I just want to see if it does. So I'm going to load up another magazine. I'm going to put some hollow points through it of various manufacturer and just see how it runs and if it has any issues. Hollow points. And as expected, I had no issues whatsoever. So it runs hollow points, it runs various weights of 9mm, absolutely fine. Everything that I put through this, which I think I put about 4 or 5 different brands through it, it ran fine. It ate everything I put in the magazines. So I want to do one more test with this thing, and I want to see if I was going to use this in either a competition setting or in a defensive use. Can I shoot this gun, empty a magazine, get that magazine out, pop a new one in, get the gun charged again, and get it back in action as fast as I can, and see if I encounter any problems. So let's see if I do. Alright, so as you can see, I did have a little bit of an issue, and that has to do with getting this magazine out of this gun. I was expecting it to drop free. I know as an American, we like our mags to drop free when we push that button. I don't want to do an extra step to have to pull it out, drop it, manipulate it in any way, but Europeans sometimes do. I think it goes back to like 1911s versus other guns and pistols specifically that had heel releases where you have to strip the magazine like an HK-P7 versus a 1911. You push that button, that magazine drops out of there with a lot of force. So I was kind of expecting this to do the same thing. So I pushed that magazine release and, well, it did it that time, but at the range, it didn't. Sometimes it gets a little stuck. Well, it is now, but it didn't do it at the range. Let me see what happens when it comes to this APC. Ah, there we go. It didn't do it there. So it's something that I have noticed on the B&T guns. Sometimes you have to strip those. If you want the magazines to always fall out, they're not going to. So you have to take an extra step. And so I would push the magazine release button probably from the left-hand side and strip that magazine. But that's an extra step, meaning I gotta throw this thing down. I have to get it out of the way to get the next magazine in that gun and then charge it. And that's the other issue that I've already kind of alluded to when it comes to the controls. I want a push button. I want to drop that bolt by pushing into the receiver instead of pushing down. So the combination of those two things, getting that magazine out of this gun and having to push the button down versus in, slowed me down on that reload. So it's a little bit different than an AR-15, and I think would slow you down just a little bit. But as I said, with a little bit of training and knowledge, it's something that you could overcome, but something that you do need to be aware of. And if you are a competition shooter and shooting this type of gun, I would definitely take into consideration before buying one. So, what are my final thoughts on the B&T SPC PDW? Now, I think most of my thoughts here today are going to deal only with the PDW version. I know the full size has a complete buffer tube with a traditional AR-15 stock and a longer handguard, and I think they also offer a carbine version that has a 16-inch barrel. But for the most part, I want the PDW if I was going to buy one, and I'm going to go ahead and spoil this. I actually called my dealer today. As of me filming this video, I actually ordered a factory SBR PDW. So yeah, I like this gun so much, well, I have to buy one. And that's just the way it is, because I got to collect everything B&T, and I love this thing so much. I really do think it has a lot of upgrades, and it's different enough from the other guns that B&T offers. It's definitely worth having. But all of the other guns that I own from them, the GHMs, the APCs, they're all built to such high quality that I've never had an issue with any of them. They all shoot fantastic and they're all super accurate. There's a lot of parts compatibility with them, especially when it comes to the lower receivers, and I don't know if they're ever going to offer this in flat dark earth. If they ever did, I think that would be something cool to pick up. I do regret not owning any of the B&T guns in the flat dark earth color. You guys know I'm just a big fan and nerd when it comes to FDE colors on firearms. I really think this is very attractive, but as far as I can tell, they currently only offer this in black, but maybe one day they'll have one in FDE. But the one I ordered is going to be in black, and man, I'm really excited to get one of these myself, especially the factory SBR version with the stock, which I believe the stock will extend a little bit further than the brace, and that has to do with ATF regulations about the length of pull between the back of the brace and the front of the trigger. But overall, this is just one fantastic gun. I really like how they've redone the buffer system. It definitely dampens that recoil. The gun shoots incredibly accurate, and I have to say it is just as much fun to shoot this as an MP5. There are some guns you go to the range and even if you're just plinking, it's just so much fun. You just want to keep putting more rounds in the magazine and just keep shooting because it's just fun. I know it's this qualitative thing, and there's some guns you go to the range, you just shoot because you got to train with them, or I just shoot because, okay, I got to make sure they still function for home defense or whatever. The MP5 and I think the SPC meet this highest criteria of it's fun, it's functional, it's tactical, it's well built, and it's just fun. So that's my thoughts on this. I'm so excited to get a chance to shoot one of these because I know there's not a lot of these out in the wild, but let me tell you, if you get a chance to pick up one of these, I would definitely take a look. Handle one of these. Man, there's a lot of machining that went into this, and the quality is once again just off the chart. So, how would I rate this on my star system? Well, I've already told you, I've ordered one. And yes, I do have a couple of small preferences that I would like to see different, but nothing that for me is a deal breaker. And when it comes to the accuracy and the fun factor and the recoil impulse, it exceeded my expectations. So the SPC PDW is going to get 5 out of 5 stars for me. It is just a gun that I am now lusting after and had to buy myself. So another perfect review. I usually try to find something about the gun to deduct a little bit of points, but on this one, nothing sticks out for me to go, well, it's worth deducting any points. It's not a perfect gun, but darn is it close, but it did exceed my expectations. So there you go, my range report on the B&T SPC PDW. What an awesome gun. So thank you, Dee, for lending it to the channel, and I hope you guys learn something from this and may look at some B&T products in the future. You guys know I absolutely love them and sing their praises because they are just one amazing company. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and if you had a chance to shoot one of these, I would love to know your thoughts. So, as always, thanks for watching.